we are looking at some of the more obscure, I don't want to say less popular, but lesser known characters in Scripture. I think I was the first to pick, so I got exactly what I wanted, which is my advantage, because I was first introduced to this character in the Bible when I was directing 3rd and 4th grade week camp. This has been quite a few years ago when I was introduced to my first superhero Bible. Okay? So I brought my superhero Bible today. Okay, this is a great tool. Okay, and I will be reading out of my superhero Bible. But just so you know, this will not sound like any of the other Bibles that we're using, because this is the New International Reader's Version. It is written on a 3rd grade reading level. So we should all be able to understand it, okay, without any problem. I might use my other, I'll probably just be reading out of my superhero Bible. It has a superhero decoder on the back, by the way. Okay, so we're going to find out exactly who our character, what she's like. Yes, I said she. Okay, because ladies, you deserve to have a superhero too. 1 Samuel chapter 25, if you're going to follow along in your Bible, we're going to begin 1 Samuel 25 the whole time. We're going to talk about 3 characters. Well, more than 3, but specifically hone in on 3 characters. Nabal, David, and our hero for today, heroine, Abigail. We're going to talk about Abigail. Everything we know about Abigail is in 1 Samuel 25. That's it. One of those characters that pops up once, and only once, but it's someone who is worth getting to know. How many of you know the story of Nabal, David, and Abigail without looking at about it? Okay? You know about it. The rest of you, if you don't, that's even better, because you get to learn about it from me. And, well, Abigail is my assignment, and boy, do I have a story for you. This is going to be good. Strap in. You ready for this ride? Just to set up the story about Abigail. This story is rich in complex characters, suspense, sordid characters, beauty inside and out. There is a hero in the story. There is a villain in the story. There's revenge in the story. This is also a love story. Does it have a happy ending? I guess we'll have to wait to find out. Don't read the end of the chapter yet. We'll ruin it. It's a twisted plot. An unknown outcome, one that you never saw coming when you read the beginning of this story. A lot of what-ifs in this story. There's hatred. There's spite. There's disrespect. There's drunkenness, death, an unhappy marriage, disloyalty, selfishness, a refusal to be hospitable, there's tension, there's trauma, there's misunderstandings, there's a feast, there's hunger, there's wanting, there's revenge, and last but not least, there's justice. All in one chapter. That's a lot, isn't it? I have always pictured this as, I don't know, a TV show or a movie. And so we're going to tell the story as such. Okay, this is the story of Abigail. Let me introduce you to characters, and then I'll give you a closer look into their character, their traits, their characteristics as we go along. This story is not about Samuel, but he's the first one mentioned, because Samuel dies. Okay, and that's it. But that's important to know that Samuel was in the story and he died. The story is not about David, but David's in the story. A lot of it's about David. It's about Nabal. Don't be like Nabal. Period. More about that later. Abigail, our hero. The person whose characteristics, the more and more we learn about, we all want to emanate in almost every way. She had it all. First time I did this story in third, fourth grade week at camp, there was a young lady whose name was Abigail, and she traveled from, I want to say Georgia, somewhere far away to come to camp. Or it was Arkansas, yeah, remember Abigail. There were sheep shearers, servants. There was a group of 10 messengers, a group of 400 soldiers. You'll like this because it's about soldiers. See, especially the part where David says, strap on your swords. I'm going to talk about you. There's a snitch, not to be confused with Stitch, okay? Snitch. We don't like Stitch. We like, So let's take a closer look at their characters. Feel free to comment, to question, raise your hand if you want to. Don't raise your hand if you want to. However you want to do this, okay? This is an open forum. This is a discussion class. I have a story I want to tell you. If you have a question about it, feel free to ask. Remember, we are learning about an obscure character in the Bible. Not as obscure as some that were offered me, but when I saw Abigail, I jumped on this one because this one was great. Nabal. See, to set up this TV show, to set up this movie, we have to know who our characters are. We need a little character study into who these people are, what these people are like. Nabal. Never heard that name before. This is the only occurrence, as far as I know, anywhere. Nabal was at Carmel. He was from Maon. He was not wealthy. He was very wealthy. He had 1,000 goats and 3,000 sheep. He was rude. He was selfish. He was unwilling to share. He was surly. He was mean. He was inhospitable. He was a drunk. He was not healthy. He never listened to anyone. ESV says he was harsh and badly behaved. Don't be like Nabal. Abigail. Abigail was smart. She was pretty. She was perceptive. She was a quick thinker. She was resourceful. She was a hard worker. She was skilled at riding a donkey. Can't say that about everyone, by the way. She was persistent. She was willing to be submissive. Dramatic pause, hesitation there, okay? She spoke her mind. Funny that those two should go hand in hand, wouldn't it? She was willing to grovel. She was righteous. And she was a prominent character in my superhero Bible, which is important in and of itself. And then we have David. Now, we all know about David. So we're not going to talk a lot about David. I only want to mention David as far as he is concerned in this narrative. This isn't about Goliath. This isn't about killing a lion and a bear. This isn't about Absalom. This is only about David in this story, in this narrative. David was in mourning. He had just lost his mentor, Samuel. Samuel died. You know what it's like when you lose someone close to you. So think about that when we talk about David's reaction in the story. Okay, David was in mourning. He was on a personal retreat. Ever need to just get away? That's what David felt like. With a few good men, about 600. So when we say get away by yourself, he took about 600 men with him. He was the king after all, so he could take as many people as he wanted to with him, as far as I'm concerned. He was willing to ask for something when he needed something. We don't all do that, do we? Or maybe he felt entitled when he asked for something that he needed. We'll have to try to figure that out when we get into the story. He was impulsive. He was judgmental. He was willing to listen. He was willing to forgive. He was willing to relent or change his mind. He was willing to admit when he was wrong. He was accepting. He was able to take advantage of the circumstance that was presented before him. And this one I'll spend just a minute on, just the next bit of time on. He was a good recipient. How many of us like to give and to do for others? We really like to give. We really like to do everything we can. And we're encouraged as God's children, as Christians, to do. But a lesson that is seldom taught and even harder to learn to do accept is to be a good recipient. By that I mean, Dawson had the disadvantage of sitting right here. So he's going to get it all the time. So that happens. He's in a bad way. He needs help. But he's too stubborn to ask for help. No matter who it is who wants to give him help. It could be friends, it could be family, but he will not, no matter what, he will not let you do something for him. Now, he'll do anything for anybody else, but he won't let you do something for him. And that, my friend, is wrong. Because when you refuse to let me help you or anybody else help you, that you are denying them an opportunity for service. And that's a hard lesson to learn. It's hard to learn to be a good recipient. Okay, commercial break's over, getting back. Sheep shearers. They were sheep shearers in this story. They were servants of Nabal. They were hard workers. They were appreciative of those who were willing and able to help. They were perceptive, willing to take a risk. Amongst the servants was a snitch. They were willing to stand up for what's right when there's been a wrong. Inside of that group, not this group, but David's group of his soldiers were 10 messengers who were obedient, who asked for the ones who were asked for help, but they were just messengers. 400 soldiers who were obedient, and 200 soldiers who were also obedient. Okay? That's what we're looking for. That sets up the story. Okay? Now we know who the characters are. We have Nabal, we have Abigail, we have David. We don't have Samuel because he's dead. And we have some servants and some helpers and some people like that. To introduce the story, we're going to first tell the story of, well, I think our opening scene needs to be Nabal's shepherds or sheep shearers shearing their sheep. And as they were shearing their sheep, right, we're panning in on this scene, as they're shearing their sheep, there is a group of soldiers and other men who are surrounding them because while they're shearing their sheep, they're vulnerable. They're open to attack from outsiders, from animals, from outside forces that are able to attack or take advantage of them being disadvantaged. They couldn't defend themselves. So there was a group of men, and it just happened that these were David's men surrounding them. We don't know that yet. We only see shepherds shearing their sheep, and we only see someone surrounding them as a wall protecting them. That's what we first see. Okay, when we leave that scene, we are told that Samuel died. and we're sad for a moment, and we pan in on David, who is, well, you have read, if you've read the Psalms, you have read how David feels when he's sad. Okay? So you kind of get a feeling for what David feels like. We're going to read. I'm going to tell you the story first before we read it. We're going to read a couple of different things out of here. Okay, then we meet Nabal. Nabal was in Maon. He had property in Carmel, and he was a Calebite. Funny you should be sitting here. He was a Calebite. And you know what they say about Calebites, don't you? Don't you? Anybody know what they say about? I don't either. I was hoping you would know. The way it's written, it sounds like, oh, he was a Calebite. Like, stay away from him. Not stay away from Caleb, but stay away from Calebites. Okay? He was wealthy. He was surly. He was mean. He was not a nice person. So we're introduced to Nabal, then we're introduced to Abigail. Well, meet Abigail, his wife. She was smart. She was pretty. Why, ladies? Why? Why do you fall for guys like that? Don't tell me it hasn't happened to somebody you know. Make it happen to you, I don't know.
I almost wonder if his wife was like a business deal as well. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're right.
Don't try to make sense of it, okay? It's true. Either that or you're trying to defend your decision. Why do you fall for guys like that?
He's a businessman. That's all he cares about. Why would he just suddenly care about another person like himself?
And she knows what he's like. She knows what he's like. Anyway, we met Abigail. And then the next scene, after our first little commercial, this is only a 30-second commercial, okay? We go to the next. David asks for help. David was in the wilderness. He was in mourning. He was mourning Samuel's death. He went off on a wilderness retreat by himself with 600 men. And he was like, we need help. We need some supplies. We need some, sustenance. We're out here in the wilderness, we're out here in the desert, and we need something. And he sent 10 young men. Not the soldiers yet. Okay, these are 10 young men. He said, we need help. Go to Nabal and ask for help. Maybe then they can spare. It's not easy to ask for help, by the way. It's not easy to ask for something, even if you need it. But they did. And also let them know, we helped you and your men. Is there any way you can, reciprocate, pay us back? Nabal basically said, no way, Jose. I ain't giving any of my hard-earned stuff for you. Who are you anyway? Get out of here. This is an attitude that was later in the New Testament portrayed in the story of the Good Samaritan. The Good Samaritan was on his way from Jerusalem to Jericho, was on his way from Jerusalem to Jericho, a certain man, and a priest happened to come by, and a Levite, and a Samaritan. The priest happened to come by, the priest who you would help, and a priest whose attitude was, when he saw somebody who needed help, who had been beaten and robbed and left for dead, his attitude was, what's mine is mine, and I'm going to keep it. Whereas on the other hand, the Samaritan came along a lot later, and this is a big story condensed into this number, had the attitude of, what's mine is yours, and I'm going to share it. Nabal had the attitude of, what's mine is mine, and I'm going to keep it. That, my friends, will get you nowhere in life. Anywhere. But lonely. And you'll have everything that you have, and nobody else. Okay. What's mine is mine, it's not yours. But you have to understand also the hospitality in that society, bringing in strangers, and supplying for them and housing them and hosting them and killing. I always wondered when I heard these stories of, a stranger happened by and they baked 10 loaves of bread. That's from the flour, the kneading of the dough, the raising, unless it was unleavened, and then the baking. And they slaughtered an animal and prepared it. Always tried to figure out how long that would take. Had been a long time. We judge all these things by our standards. And when we're studying Bible lessons like this, we can't judge these things by our standards. We have to put ourselves in that day and time. Anyway, hospitality was the norm, and he refused hospitality, which was egregious evil. David's reply, and his response was, strap on your swords, boys. We're going to war. Saddle up, boys, let's ride. Saddle up, boys, let's ride. David said, I'm even going to strap my sword on too. We're going to ride. He and 400 men, maybe an overreaction, maybe an overreaction. And he said, let's kill them all. Maybe a bit impulsive. And here's what I like in verse 22. We're going to read this, I promise. May God deal with me ever so severely if I don't kill every one of them. Did you hear that? May God deal with me if I don't kill them and get my revenge on them. What an attitude David had there. And then, the rat, the snitch, runs to Abigail and said, oh, by the way, your husband, that surly mean guy, who's just like his name, well, he did it again. What can you do? All right, let's pause for a minute there, and let's go into 1 Samuel 25, and let's read up to where we are so far, okay? Samuel died. The whole nation of Israel gathered together. They were filled with sorrow because he was dead. They buried his body in his home in Ramah. Then David went down into the desert of Maon. A certain man in Maon was very wealthy. He owned property there at Carmel. He had 1,000 goats and 3,000 sheep. He was clipping the wool off the sheep in Carmel. His name was Nabal. His wife's name was Abigail. She was a wise and beautiful woman, but her husband was rude and mean in the way he treated others. He was from the family of Caleb. David was staying in the desert of Maon. While he was there, he heard that Nabal was clipping the wool off his sheep, so he sent for 10 young men. He said to them, go up to Nabal in Carmel, greet him for me, say to him, may you live a long time, may everything go well with you and your family, and may things go well with everything that belongs to you. That sounds like a pretty good greeting to me. It didn't sound like it. He said, I hear that you were clipping the wool off the sheep when your shepherds were with us. We treated them well. The whole time they were at Carmel, nothing that belonged to them was stolen. Ask your own servants, they will tell you. We've come to you now at a happy time of the year. Please show your favor to my young men. Please give me and my men anything you can find for us. Seemed like a reasonable request. Anybody but the surly and mean Nabal. When David's men arrived, they gave Nabal the message from David. Then they waited. Nabal answered David's servants. And you talk about an overreaction. This was an overreaction. Who is David? Are you kidding me? Everybody knew David. Who is this son of Jesse? Well, you obviously knew David if he was the son of Jesse. Many servants are running away from their masters these days. Why should I give away, listen to this attitude, why should I give away my bread and my water? Why should I give away the meat that I prepared for those who clip the wool off my sheep? That's a lot of, I's and me's and mine's, isn't it? With that attitude, you're not going to get anywhere. Why should I give food to men who come from who knows where? David's men turned around and went back. When they arrived, they reported to David every word Nabal had spoken. David said to his men, "Put on your swords." So they put their swords on. A good soldier listens, right? And obeys orders, even if it's something they shouldn't be doing. Put on your swords. They put their swords on. David put his on too. About 400 men went up with David. 200 men stayed behind with the supplies. Good so far in the story. See what's going on. We still don't know much about Abigail. And that's who we're here to talk about. We're going to talk about Abigail next. It just so happened that in all of this, one of Nabal's servants escaped, ran away, slipped out the back, whatever, and went to Mrs. Nabal, Abigail, and told her what was going on. Gave her the whole scoop of the situation. We're going to pick that up in verse 14. One of the servants warned Nabal's wife Abigail. He said, "David sent some messengers from the desert to give his greetings to her master, but Nabal shouted at them and made fun of them." What is with this guy? It's a good thing we're not talking about Nabal today, isn't it? Although we have to know about Nabal, so we get to know how not to be. David's men, verse 15, had been very good to us. They treated us well the whole time we were near them out in the fields. Nothing was stolen. If that's how you judge your standards of people, then, that's pretty sad. But anyway, they were good people. They didn't steal anything. Standards were pretty low, weren't they? We were taking care of our sheep. We were taking care of our sheep near them. There we go. During that time, they were like a wall around us night and day. They kept us safe. That's a little bit better. They kept us safe. Now think it over, verse 17. See what you can do. Horrible trouble will soon come to our master and his whole family. He's such an evil man that no one can even talk to him. We keep learning more and more and more nasty stuff about Nabal. Finally, in verse 18, Abigail didn't waste any time. So after a rather lengthy commercial break, because we've had to take a pause here after the servant talk, we have to find out what was Abigail's reaction. What did she do? Several admirable things happened right here. Abigail didn't waste any time. She got, get this ladies, how impressive was this feast? Okay? How impressive was this? Her response, 200 loaves of bread. I don't know if it was baked or not, or if it was ready or not ready. But 200 loaves of bread. 2 skins of wine. 5 dressed sheep. I mean, how many sheep did he own? 3,000? We're going to, 5 dressed sheep, which meant they were slaughtered, prepared, ready to serve. Okay? 5 seahs of roasted grain. I didn't look that up to see how much it was, but apparently roasted grain was.
I bet it was about 7 quarts or 7 quarts.
So it was a sizable amount of roasted grain. 100 raisin cakes. Impressed? You ever had a raisin cake before? No. Dried compressed. Okay? Dried compressed. You've seen in the grocery store, a cake of figs. In fact, she had prepared 200 fig cakes. This isn't a cake as in a baking cake. It was she took with her servants and donkeys. Abigail didn't waste any time. She got 200 loaves of bread, 2 bottles of wine. The bottles were made out of animal skins. She got 5 sheep that were ready to be cooked. She got a bushel of grain that had been cooked. There we go, a bushel. She got 100 raisin cakes. She got 200 cakes of pressed figs. She loaded all of it on the backs of donkeys. Then she told her servants, "Go on ahead, I'll follow you." This is the only thing that I thought might be a little bit questionable in her character. She got all this ready and said, "You know what? You go first, I'll follow you." But, Yeah, she didn't tell her husband Nabal about any of it. So she did keep secrets from her husband. But I think in this case, we'll let her off the hook.
She almost seems well experienced in dealing with Nabal's crash outs, if you will. Because there's, the servant like goes to her specifically, and it seems to be like not uncommon for, oh, we gotta go tell Abigail to clean up this mess that Nabal made with the way he acts. Which tells you a lot about her and about him and the interesting state of their marriage.
It's almost like he's done it again. He acted in character. You're right. But I appreciate the servant saying, what can you do? And she did something. Back to the story. Yeah, bread, wine, sheep, grain, fruit. And at this point, what I'm seeing in this movie, in this scene, Abigail rode her donkey into a mountain valley. There she saw David and his men. They were coming down toward her. David had just said, I like this in verse 21, everything we've done hasn't been worth a thing. I watched over that fellow's property in the desert. I made sure none of it was stolen. He has paid me back evil for good. I won't leave even one of his men alive until morning. If I do, may God punish me greatly. May God punish me if I don't kill them all, is what David said. But what I'm picturing is this mountain ravine, where David's coming this way, Abigail and her donkeys are coming this way, and they're riding horses. They're riding swift horses, and they got their swords strapped on, and she's clunking away on her donkey, and her servants are clunking away on their donkey with all these supplies, and they're rushing this way, and you see a cloud of smoke, clunking along this way, and you see them running this way, and then all of a sudden, boom, the scene stops, and you have no idea what's going to happen next. And you're left thinking, what are we going to do? That's the way I always picture this. And I've been in those scenes out west places where you have that mountain ravine, and it's pretty cool looking out, canyon lands or someplace like that. And you can see this is real. Like a mountain ravine where, and what happens next is probably, definitely the key to this whole lesson. What she, not just only what she does, but what she says. And David's reaction to it.
She had something of a military mind. The sending the servants with the gifts ahead of her, that's identical to what Jacob did when he was returning to Esau.
Yeah.
When he knew that Esau was going to be beating them, fearing that there was going to be a fight, he sent the women and the children and gifts in front. From a certain perspective, it looks cowardly, but it's a softener because they're not going to kill the women and the children, and they're going to look at those things unprotected by the men, and realize this is a gift. Okay, so they want to talk. All right, well, let's talk. It was extremely wise on her because can you imagine if she had gone up with the donkeys and several men going towards them, and it could look like they were trying to meet for a fight.
It was this, just asking for conflict. But still, you see these 400 soldiers I'm assuming on swift horses, racing toward a woman and a handful of donkeys. It's almost hysterical, isn't it? And it's frightening. Back to the story, and then we'll talk about what we can learn from it. I always pictured this a little like the gunfight at the OK Corral, each heading toward the other. So we'll come back to that. They're closer, their hearts are beating faster, their adrenaline high, their anxiety is rising. What's going to happen? You're preparing yourself for battle. They're preparing themselves to be attacked, knowing that they can't defend themselves, knowing all they have is bread, wine, sheep, and fruit. And they have 400 and at least one swords. Who's at the advantage? Who's at the disadvantage? Then comes the showdown. When Abigail saw David in verse 23, she quickly got off her donkey. She bowed down in front of David with her face toward the ground. She fell at his feet. Sir, or you're reading another version, Lord, sir, let me speak. Listen to what I'm saying. Let me take the blame. I didn't know. Don't pay attention to that evil man Nabal. His name means foolish. That's exactly what he is. He always does these foolish things. Sorry I didn't get a chance to see the men that you sent, because I certainly would have helped them. The showdown where Abigail shines. She bowed, she fell at his feet, she begged, listen to me, he's foolish, I didn't know. You haven't done anything bad yet. God hasn't allowed it. Accept this gift, this peace offering, forgive, relent, live long and prosper. You like that one? You like that? Yeah. That's what she said. Back off. Remember me when you make it big. I'm ready to wash your servant's feet. Let's read, see if we got all that. She fell at his feet. Sir, listen to what I'm saying. Let me take the blame myself. Don't pay attention to that evil man, Nabal. His name means foolish. And that's exactly what he is. He's always doing foolish things. I'm sorry I didn't chance to see the men you sent, sir. Now I need to write this one down, so let me throw it in now while I'm thinking about it. The Lord has kept you from killing Nabal and his men. She is acknowledging God. He has kept you from using your own hands to get even. May what's about to happen to Nabal, because he's going to pay for this, we all know he is, happen to all your enemies. May it also happen to everyone who wants to harm you, and may it happen just as surely as the Lord and you are alive. I brought a gift for you. Give it to the men who follow you. Please forgive me for what I've done wrong. She hasn't done anything wrong. She still asks for forgiveness. The Lord will certainly give you and your family line a kingdom that will last. She was right there, wasn't she? That's because you fight the Lord's battles. Don't do anything wrong as long as you live. The Lord will do for you every good thing he promised to do. Verse 30, he'll appoint you leader over Israel. What a prophecy we're getting from this woman. David said to Abigail, verse 32, praise God, the God of Israel, who sent you to find me today. May the Lord bless you for what you have done. You have shown a lot of good sense. You have kept me from killing Nabal and his men. You have kept me from using my hands to get even. It's a good thing you came quickly to meet me. If you hadn't come, then not one of Nabal's men would still be alive. And that's as sure as the Lord, the God of Israel, is alive. He has kept me from harming you. And then David accepted the gift. There again, be a good recipient. And told her, he said, go home in peace. I've heard your words. I'll do what you've asked. Abigail went back to Nabal. She didn't tell him what had happened because he was hosting a feast, a banquet. He was drunk. The next morning she told him what happened. He had a heart attack and died. But that's not the end of the story. The end of the story is her telling David, I'm willing to wash your servant's feet. And he asked her to marry him. Kind of a strange way to end the story. But, you can meet people under the strangest of circumstances. Okay, so that's the story. That's the show. That's the program. That's the movie. And there's some drama. Like I said, everything that I promised you is in that story. But we're not here to tell a story. We're here to learn a lesson. What are the lessons that we can learn from this? Back months ago, I was pleading my case because Mike, I think I was the first one you showed this list to. And I could show you the list, but I wrote it down. We were looking at Jabez, the thief on the cross, Ehud, Korah, Jethro, Elishama. If you don't know these names, there is a good reason for it. Ebed Molech, Zipporah, Mephibosheth, a nameless person in Matthew 7 and Mark 7 and Matthew 15. I guess we're going to have to give me Dorcas in Acts chapter. Those were what I had to choose from. And I said, with a big star, I said Abigail. I'm thinking Abigail. And I sent him a text. I sent Mike a text, and I said, listen, here's what I want Abigail. Here's the lessons here's what I can teach from Abigail. Succeeding when others fail, boldly serving by doing the right thing and going the extra mile, taking chances even when we most likely fail, or finding someone to love under the most unlikely circumstances. And I thought for sure I would just pick one of those and teach a lesson on it. But lo and behold, I didn't. I decided to tell the story of Abigail and to talk about all the lessons that we can learn from it. And here's the lessons. Gentlemen, remember our class this morning? That's where this is going to come in, okay? Ladies, you're at a disadvantage in here. But, talk to one of the guys. He'll tell you what this is all about. Succeeding when others fail. Remember, we're not talking about David. We're not talking about dead Samuel. We're not talking about Nabal. We're not talking about the servants. We're not talking about the snitch. We're not talking about the sheep shearers. We're talking about Abigail. Succeeding when others fail. Nabal failed. David, in his attitude, failed. Abigail, in her reaction, and her gathering of the supplies, and her clopping along on a donkey, chose to succeed when all others around her were failing. You can do what others can't. What's your specialty? What are you good at that you can do better than anybody else? It doesn't have to be anything big. Or, what is the one job that you're exactly the right person for? I taught a lesson a long time ago on Jonah. Remember Jonah? God said, go to Nineveh and preach repentance and destruction to that wicked city. And what did he do? He ran away, got swallowed up by a fish, got vomited on dry land 3 days. Night later, God said, go to Nineveh, and he went to Nineveh. He preached to that wicked city, destruction. What was the end result? God relented because Nineveh repented. Like that play on words there. If Jonah had run away, got swallowed by a fish, and died, what happens to Nineveh? The only person that God saw was right for that job was Jonah. Even when he decided not to do it God's way, God said, yes, you will do it my way. You are the right person for the job. Go preach destruction to this wicked city. If Jonah hadn't gone, Nineveh was not saved. Who is your Nineveh? Who is it? What task is out there waiting for you to do because nobody else can? If Abigail doesn't react, consider the consequences. David kills, Nabal and his men die. Their death is on David's hands. God doesn't have the respect for David that is required for his line to lead us to Jesus. All because Abigail reacted and kept him from doing an egregious evil. Chain reaction was prevented. Succeeding when others fail. What can you do? What job is out there waiting for you to do? Because there's a job waiting out there for you to do. Gentlemen, we talked about serving. Stepping up and doing well. That was number one. Number two, boldly serving by doing the right thing and going the extra mile. boldly serving, and I know some of you are trying to write this down, by doing the right thing and going the extra mile. The right thing to do is always the right thing to do. It's not always the easiest thing to do, but the right thing to do is always the right thing to do. Taking revenge, being insulted, or upset, or strapping on your swords, or riding into the canyon with your swords intending to kill, not the right thing to do. Okay, do we give him a pass because he was in mourning and this was a knee-jerk reaction? Maybe, maybe not. Saul has slain thousands, David his 10,000s. He was a warrior. Step up and just do something. Take action. Boldly serving by doing the right thing and going the extra mile. She didn't have to take all of those supplies, but she chose to exaggerate and over-exaggerate in her reaction in doing the right thing. Number 3, taking chances, even when you will most likely fail. Even her getting the supplies, riding towards David and his fighting men, David could just as easily slaughter them all. But she boldly took a chance, got off her donkey, fell at his feet, and begged him to forgive her. She said, "This is all my fault." Well, it wasn't. But she took the burden on her shoulders, even though she wasn't the one to blame. And she talked to him. Well, I mean, what's the worst that can happen when you take a chance and the odds are stacked up against you? What's the worst that can happen? And then when the worst that can happen actually happens, and it's not going to happen again. Take a chance, even when you will most likely fail. Pick it up and try to do it again. Pick it up and try to do it again.
The wisdom of the world says to cut your losses. The wisdom of the world would say, Abigail, just leave. Just get out of there and let me get what's coming.
The wisdom of the world is not in my superhero Bible.
I think that adds another layer to it almost. I didn't even think about that point. Like, she found out, she could have left. She could have fled, she could have been selfish and went that way, but
She had a way out, didn't she, Kara?
she did.
Her husband she was about to become a widow, and she was free from this rotten scoundrel. But instead, she chose to, but then she knew that he was going to get what was coming to him. A couple more, you ready? Finding someone to love even under the most unlikely circumstances. You never know when and where you're going to find the right person. I've recently been going every 3 months to have lab work done, blood work done, okay? And every time, you'll appreciate this a lot because you happen to be in the medical field, right? Okay? First time I gave blood, I was in college. Have you ever drawn blood before? Yeah. Do me a favor, okay? Don't do what happened to the person who did this to me the first time. Because the first time I gave blood, you tell somebody you're going to feel a little pinch, and I did. And then you know what she said? You know what she said?
What?
Oops.
No.
I knew I was in trouble.
You mean oops?
She said, oops. I was like, I don't think you're supposed to say that, are you? I had a bruise from here to here.
So you should have
I had a bruise from here to here. It wasn't painful, but it was really ugly.
Yeah.
I was on OVC campus, okay, 300 students, and it's happened to one other person there.
Oh.
Not just me, but one other person there. Okay? We've been married for 43 years. All because of that unfortunate, oops person. So when I say under the most unlikely of circumstances, right?
So you just went up to each other like, man, look at us.
Yeah.
Comparing bruises.
We compared bruises every day, okay? I She said she picked her outfit out every morning as to whether it was more purple or green or blue or, you know. Last but not least, face your problems head on. You can't run away from them. Face your problems head on. You can't run away from them. Don't hesitate. Don't procrastinate. Don't hit the snooze button. Don't run away. Don't be in denial. Face your problems head on. It's like the Abbott Costello routine that I heard once, and I'm going to tell this well, but I'm going to tell it the best I can, okay? I woke up this morning, and I popped up in the bed, and I felt like running a marathon, and I felt like swimming in an Olympic pool, and I felt like conquering the world. And they said, what did you do? And I said, I lay down in bed till the feeling went away. Don't lay down in bed until the feeling goes away. Face your problems head on. Just like she did. I mean, she literally was head on. As in head on collision. Now, one more thing I want to read. Abigail kicked the sides of her donkey. She was in a hurry. A line of donkeys clopped along after her. The donkeys were loaded with 200 loaves of bread, 2 skins of wine, a bushel of grain, 100 cakes of raisins, 200 cakes of free figs, and 5 sheep, all ready to be cooked. What a feast. Abigail scanned the hills. She wondered if she would make it in time. Months earlier, David and his men had saved Nabal's sheep from bandits and wild animals, all at no cost. But now, her husband Nabal had turned away David's men. David was angry and was coming to punish Nabal and his family. Squaring her shoulders, Abigail continued toward David's camp. Would he even give her a chance to present her gifts? She had to try. In the distance, this is in bold letters here now, in the distance, a cloud of dust grew until she could see David and his powerful men in front of him. Abigail took a deep breath, jumped down off her donkey, and went to David. She bowed low to the ground. Please, sir, let me speak. She said, I wish I had been there when your servants came. I would have given them plenty of food. In fact, I'm bringing it to you now. Please don't punish my family. That would be wrong. God wouldn't want you to act that way. David looked down at Abigail. He was amazed at her courage. Did she have any idea how angry he was? But he realized that she was right. It was wrong for him to be so angry. David reached down and helped Abigail up. He thanked her for coming and for keeping him from doing the wrong thing. Be an Abigail. Abigail was a strong woman. When someone did something wrong, even when that someone was her husband, she stepped in and did the right thing. Sometimes doing the right thing is hard. Sometimes it's scary. Abigail knew all of that. But she still did it. So you can. Next time you have to do something hard, remember Abigail. Abigail was a brave and strong woman who did the right thing. She was, according to the secret decoder here, okay, she was B, brave. She was K, was kind. She was W, she was wise. Maybe a more obscure character in the Bible, but she truly was a hero. So you can be more like Abigail. Now, my approach in this lesson was not to have an intellectual, theological discussion. I wanted this to be kind of casual. I wanted it to be kind of light. There's a time for us to be deep theologically challenged. And sometimes it's nice to just go back to some basics. Because if we can't figure out the basics, then we can't go any deeper. I know this hasn't been hard. It hasn't been challenging. It's been pretty light, pretty casual. But we pray that there was something in there that hit you just right. And maybe you learned a little bit of a lesson from, of all people, Abigail, who's only mentioned in one chapter of the whole Bible. But she made a difference.